And then let's hear some noise for all the hundreds of people who've been watching services online with us. Come on. We love you guys. They're a part of our family as well, so we appreciate you all. We're in a series called I Do. And the first week of our series was called Before You Say I Do. We were talking primarily to all of our singles. Last week was part 2, and it was called Now, What Do I Do? So we were talking to all of us married folk. And today is going to be, what the heck did I do? And can I get a do-over? Can I redo this thing? So we're going to have a whole lot of fun, and we're going to learn something. How many of you guys came to put your thinking cap on, hear from the Word of God, and learn something? So all the rest of you, I'm going to be praying for you because there wasn't a whole lot of hands. Come, let's try it one more time. How many of you guys came, put your thinking cap on, you want to learn a little something? All right, there you go. Hey, listen, if you're married and you're by your spouse, you better put your hand up, all right? All right, I promise you she wants your hand up. This is my wife and I and some wedding pictures behind me, and that's our date, July 27th, 1996. That means I'm almost 20 years into the deal. I got, yeah. All right, so what the heck did I do? Somebody said if people would pay the preacher to marry them, what they pay the lawyer to divorce them. Man, us preachers would be living large. I'd be driving a brand new ZR1 Corvette. Because I've married a whole bunch of people. I kind of like that statement. So here's what my goal is today. I want to save you a bunch of money. How many married people we have in the house? So I'm going to save you a lot of money and a lot of heartache today. If you'll listen, give me about 30 minutes of your time. We'll open up the Word of God together, and I want to save you some money. Now, I got to start off with a corny joke. I'm sorry. It's just, I just got to go there. I heard this joke this week, and I thought, I got to use it. But there's this elderly man that goes in for an annual checkup. He goes to see his doctor. He took his wife with him because he's hard of hearing. So the doctor had done some blood work, and he came in, and he said to Mr. Henry, Mr. Henry, your cholesterol looks good. He said, how's that? His wife leans into his ear and said, Henry, he said your cholesterol looks good. He said, oh, okay, that's good, that's good. She said, and the doctor went on to say, hey, and all of your blood work looks good. Sugar levels look good. Everything looks good. He said, how's that? She leaned into his ear and said, Henry, your sugar, everything looked good. It all checked out good. He said, oh, fine, fine. The doctor said, sir, I suggest if you want to maintain a healthy heart, that you and your spouse need to be intimate at least twice a week. He said, could you repeat that? And she leaned into his ear and said, Henry, the doctor said you're going to die. You're going to die, Henry. Oh, man. So today we're going to use the story of Jacob as the backdrop of our message, What the Heck Did I Do? Let me give you a little bit of a history as to who Jacob is. Jacob is the son of Isaac, and Jacob is the grandson of Abraham. Now, Abraham is a very important patriarch of our faith, in Scripture. Very important man in the Old Testament. His son of promise, Isaac, his grandson, Jacob. Jacob fathered 12 sons who became leaders of the 12 tribes of Israel. So Jacob has a very important place in Scripture. Now the story we're going to read from is Genesis 29, but first let me paint you the picture. Jacob becomes an adult, and Jacob is ready to start looking for a spouse. He's ready to hit the scene. He is in the mood for love. There's some Marvin Gaye playing in the background. Know what I'm saying? Got some Lionel Richie playing somewhere in the room. If he's from my generation, how many of you guys remember Babyface? Woo! Got a little Babyface in his boombox. Or in my case, I remember my first Alpine CD player. It was a showroom model, had the face broke on it, but I still had to pay $300 for it. Because that's how much CD players were back in the day. Y'all remember that? So I have my Babyface in my 1978 Cutlass Oldsmobile T-top bucket seats. You drive like this right here, you know what I'm saying? And so he's in the mood for love. And here's what happened. His dad pulled him off to the side and gave him some instruction. The first thing he said was, I want to bless you and release you to go find you a spouse. He received that father's blessing that every man needs. And then he said, I don't want you to go to the Canaanites to look for a spouse. He said, don't go looking among the Canaanite women. He said, matter of fact, don't even go to that city. Stay away from those people. He said, go to the house of Laban and choose from among his daughters. Now, I have been in ministry now, serving for 20 plus years. As youth pastor, 14, almost 15 years, been pastoring now for some time. We've worked with tens of thousands of young people. I have married more people than I can even count. But one thing that I have heard over and over and over again from people who have ended up going from one relationship to another relationship to another relationship is, why do I always end up with the bad ones? Why do I always end up with the rotten apples? Anybody ever heard somebody, maybe you've even said that. Why do I always end up with the people who are not the right kind of people? I'm going to start this morning with a question, and here's my question. Everybody looking at me, here's my question. If you're going to look for a spouse, if you're going to look for a companion for life, where are you looking for them at? If you want to find somebody to be a lifelong partner with, you're going to have to answer that question. Where am I going to find a partner at? His dad said to him, do not go and look for a spouse among the Canaanite women. He said, go to the house of Laban and choose from the daughters of Laban. In other words, if you found him at a strip club, he probably ain't going to be faithful. If you met him at a club and he had a farmer tan where 2 hours ago he had a wedding band, he ain't going to be faithful. Can I get an amen in the house? Where are we going to go to find a companion for life? He said, do not go to the Canaanite women. Don't even go to the city of the Canaanites. Stay away from those girls. He said, go to the house of Laban. I became a Christ follower in 1992. It was March 15th. I was 19 years old. I had dated the wrong way before I came to know Jesus. Then I came to know Jesus. Jesus Christ saved me. He set me free. I was addicted to everything coming and going. My life was a wreck. I did not think I could ever get off the sinful go-round. I was miserable. I didn't even want to do the things that I was doing anymore. The sin made me sick. I was miserable. I came to Jesus that morning. I prayed, I bear hugged the first person on the platform. I said, I need help. I need Jesus. I started confessing all kinds of sin. Preacher turned about 1,000,000 shades of red, got me down, said, pray, let's pray, let's pray, let's pray. In other words, I don't want to hear no more. You polluting my mind, man. Get down here, let's pray. When I came up that day, I realized that if I was going to do life with Jesus, I needed to have the right kind of people in my life. Number one, I realized that the people I dated, if I was going to date, not people, the girl. Let me go ahead and clarify that right now. I realized that if I was going to date a girl, she had to, number one, be in love with Jesus. I mean radically in love. Not just going to church. You can be in the church and not of the church. She needed to be in love with Jesus. Number two, she needed to love ministry. She needed to love the local church, because I knew I wanted to give all my life to the church. So I knew the girl for me was a girl that loved Jesus with all of her heart. And she had to love ministry. She had to love the local church. So if she didn't meet those two things, that criteria, she was not an option. So I heard about a man by the name of David Rice. And I heard David Rice had some daughters, good-looking daughters. I heard David Rice pastored Community Pentecostal Church in Calvin, Kentucky, right below the Seven Sisters. The 7 sisters were 7 rocks that protruded from the hillside. And right underneath those 7 rocks, they called them the 7 sisters. Right underneath the 7 rocks, 7 sisters, was a little white church called Community Pentecostal Church. And I heard that there was some daughters hanging out there that knock your eyes out. And they love Jesus. So you know what I did? I cruised up to David Rice's place on Wednesday night, 7 o'clock. Man, I got my eyes open. I'm just looking. I'm like, yeah, I got the Babyface playing in the CD player. Marvin Gaye somewhere out there. Lionel Richie dancing on the ceiling. Man, I tell you, I'm in the mood for love. I cruised up in there every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. What was I doing? I was doing what Jacob's dad said. Don't you go look among the Canaanites for your wife. You go to Laban's house and choose from his daughters. I knew that David Rice pastored a church where there were some girls hanging out that loved Jesus. I knew he had some daughters that loved Jesus. I saw Melissa Rice playing the keyboard, singing her heart out to the Lord. And I said, oh my goodness, I got to have that girl right there. That girl is, yeah, she's fine. She loves the Lord. Come on, y'all help me preach this morning. Woo! Praise the Lord. I've told you this before, but I thought she was with her brother. I asked her out, and she's with her boyfriend. I had no idea. No idea. I knew I'd saw her on campus. I went to Lincoln Memorial University. That's where I graduated from. I knew I'd saw her on campus. I thought she went there. Somebody told me she went there. She did go there. She went to work there. She was an instructor. I was a student. She said, how old do you think I am? 2 strikes. I thought, no, I ain't even going to go for a third one. I'm done out. I'm done out. I'm done out. The favor of God is on my life. 20 years with that woman. Come on, somebody say amen. He said, go to the house of Laban and choose from among his daughters. Now, let's be honest. If you were Jacob and your father said those words, guys, in your mind you're thinking, how many daughters has this guy got? Man, this guy, he must just have all kinds of kids. He must have youngins everywhere. Choose from among his daughters. I'm going to line them all up. I'm going to interview them, talk to them one at a time. I'm going to court them, find out who loves the Lord, who loves Jesus, who's got a heart for God, and who makes my heart go pitter-patter. Can I say to you, in 20 years of being married to Melissa, she's getting ready to hit an age that I know it's one of those years she doesn't want to talk about, so I'm not going to say it. But I'm telling you, that woman is finer today than 20 years ago when we said I do. She is a knockout. Come on. But you know, like I know, that if your dad said that, you'd be thinking, man, how many youngins has this guy got? All kinds of daughters. Guess what? Laban had 2 daughters, and one of them wasn't all that much to look at. So, Jacob goes to Laban's house. And in Genesis chapter 29, we have the story. Then Laban said to Jacob, because you're my kinsman, should you therefore serve me for nothing? Now again, to back up a little bit, Jacob finds out that Laban has some livestock. He's got some property, and he needs a young whippersnapper on that property, some young muscle helping him work the farm. So he offers to stay and work the farm, just to hang off the coattails of Rachel, one of his daughters. And so Laban says, well, you can't work for nothing. And he says, tell me, what shall be your wages? Now, Laban had 2 daughters. The name of one, the older, was Leah, and the name of the other, the younger, was Rachel, and Leah's eyes were weak. Can I just stop and say that is a very nice way for the Bible to say she's kind of rough looking? All right? But Rachel was beautiful in form and appearance. Don't need any interpretation on that right there. Jacob loved Rachel and said, I will serve you for 7 years for your youngest daughter. So Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and it seemed to him like just a few days because of the love that he had for her. Isn't that sweet? Then Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife, that I might lie with her, for my time is complete. I've done my 7 years' time, I want my wife. So Laban gathered together all the people of the place, and he made a feast. They had a wedding. But in the evening, he took his daughter Leah and brought her to Jacob. He did a bridal swap. Late into the night, before they consummated their marriage, he swapped the bride. That's messed up, ain't it? That's in the Bible. Genesis 29. I'm reading you Scripture right now. There was a bridal swap. That sounds like a reality show, doesn't it? And he spent the night with her, and verse 25 says, in the morning, behold, it was Leah. Can you imagine that? And Jacob said to Laban, what is this that you've done to me? Can I paraphrase that like this? What the heck did I do? Now I'm going to ask you another question. How many of you, married couples, maybe you've been married 6 months, maybe you've been married 6 years, maybe you've been married 60 years. How many of you at some point in your marriage, you woke up one morning with your bride or your groom beside of you? I would say for most ladies, you've woken up a lot more than us guys have, and you've looked at that man beside of you and you've thought, no, this is not the guy I married. Who is this person? What gives here? This is not the person I agreed to spend the rest of my life with. This is not the person I fell in love with. Can we be honest to say there's probably been 1, 2, 3, there have been some times when that's happened. Raise your hand. No lying. If you lie, you fry. Okay, that's Scripture. We've all been there. Now, I believe that Jacob went right in some places, and I believe Jacob went wrong in some places. And so we're going to get practical, and we're going to make the Word of God very applicable to our life today, okay? So I believe that he went right in some places. I also believe he went wrong in some places. Here's where I believe he went right. I believe he went right, and all of you young people looking at me, I believe he went right when he allowed his father to speak into his life. I believe he went right when he allowed somebody older than him to coach him in all of his relationships. Now, I know I was a teenager. I was a college 20-something. And I know that there are times when we think that our parents are the stupidest people on the planet. But the older I get, the smarter my parents get. And I believe that God puts in the DNA of every parent a godly intuition. Even parents that don't love the Lord, that don't know the Lord, I believe that God puts in parents this godly intuition, and they just have something in their knower. And so it's wisdom to open up ourselves for godly instruction. Man, it's quiet in the house this morning. Let me give you a proverb. All you singles, all you young people, remember this. Proverb 30:17. It says that the child that mocks the advice of his father or scorns the input of his mother, the ravens of the sky will come and pluck their eyes out. Like, what's that mean? Be looking like this right here all the time. What's that mean? Here's what that means. It's going to mean that your life is going to have no direction. You're not going to be able to move forward in life like you were intended to if you never open your heart up to a teachable spirit. Have a teachable spirit. Have a teachable heart. If I never allow anybody to speak into my life, I'm going to be all over the place. I'm never going to get ahead. Now, if you look at another story in Scripture, in Judges, we find a guy named Samson who was hooked up from the floor up. Man, God blessed this young man. But he did the opposite of what Jacob did. He went among the ungodly and found a woman and brought her home and said, Dad, Mom, this is my girl. I want to marry her. And they said, no, don't do that. That's not the kind of girl you want to marry. He scorned their input, married her, and at the end of the story of Samson, guess what happens to his eyes? Boom, they get pulled out. So where he went right was he opened his heart up to godly input, godly advice. He had a teachable spirit. And I would say that 99.9999999% of the time, we have parents that love us and want the best for us. And so it'd be wisdom to open our ears and listen. That's where he went right. Here's where he went wrong. Now everybody, put your seatbelt on. I don't want you going nowhere. All you men, every man in here, I want you to do this with me. Put your seatbelt on. Every man. Not every man's doing it. Come on. I'm going to stand here till every man does this with me. Come on. Here's where I think he went wrong. And you have to read between the lines here because Bible doesn't really say this, but it's just allow me some space here. I believe that he went wrong by hanging out at Rachel's house for 7 years. His grandfather, Abraham, was the richest man in the world. He was. He was the richest man of the known world. He had the money to purchase his bride. You see, back in this time, if I wanted to marry Melissa, I didn't just ask her if she would like to spend the rest of her life with me and then wait for a yes and then later an I do. I didn't even just do that and then ask for her father's blessing, which a lot of people don't even do today. It didn't work that way during this time. I had to pay a dowry. I had to purchase my bride. Can I give you a side note? Jesus Christ purchased every single person under the sound of my voice. He purchased us with His blood. He loves us. He loves us. He loves us. He wants us. No matter how messed up we look, no matter how messed up we get, He bled and paid for us with His blood. But Jacob could have bought Rachel. He could have brought a camel load of gold, dropped it on Laban's front porch and said, I want her to be my wife. Do you want to be my wife? Yep, okay, all right, here's the purchase price. If it ain't enough, I'll bring you more. He could have got her and got out of Dodge, but he didn't do that. He stayed and worked 7 years for her. Here's what I see in that. On one hand, we see a love story. But here's what I also see. I see a guy that's letting a girl lead him around by the nose. And in 20 years of ministry, I know I'm still young. About to hit the 4-3, I know I'm still young. But I've also seen this enough to have the right to say something about this. I think that some men think that what their wife wants is for them to do anything and everything she says and to let their wife lead them around by the nose. I want to say to every man, what your wife needs, what your wife wants, what she desires more than anything else is not a monkey but a man. A man who will be a man of God, who will stand up and lead his house like God leads His church. Can somebody say amen? A woman doesn't want a man to be a monkey. She wants him to be a man of God. And I've known way too many men, they're like hockey pucks. Way too many young men. A girl bats her eye and boom, he's that way. Another girl over here bats her eye and goes this way, he's going that way. He's just chasing and chasing. He's like a hockey puck. Wherever a girl smacks him, that's the direction he goes. This is a true story. This is a true story I'm telling you right now. I remember a young man that was that way. I mean, every girl that waved at him, he thought she was in love with him. He said, that girl, did you see that girl? She just waved at me. I think she likes me. I remember saying, buddy, why don't you just grow up, man? Be a man. Go after Jesus and just, ain't no girl wanting you to follow her around. That's called a creeper. This is a true story, though. He went out of town. He came back from town, and he said, man, the next day, he said, man, I was talking to him. He said, man, I met this girl. He said, out in so-and-so. And he said, I was at the mall. He said, I met this girl. She said, she just hollered for me, hollered out for me. He lost a little bit of weight, and he was feeling real good about himself. He said, she just hollered for me. He said, I came over there. He said, she just started talking to me, told me how good looking I was. He said, then she just started rubbing my hands, rubbing some lotion on my hands. I said, for real? That's weird. He said, no, she did, just right there in the middle of the mall. I said, was she one of them girls that works at a kiosk that has lotion? He's like, well, yeah, that's what she... I said, buddy, she does that to every man that walks by. Are you kidding me? She don't love you. She loves selling lotion. Get a grip, dude. Come on. Y'all help me preach this morning, man. That's good. A woman don't want a monkey. She wants a man. I want every woman to shout amen on that right there. We need to be godly men leading our house. I'm not saying that we should be disrespectful, dishonoring to our spouse. I'm not saying we should be my way or the highway or bullies. Listen, the Bible says in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 21, submit yourself one to another. We're a team. But I'm going to lead my house. Amen. Here's where else I think he went wrong. So where did he go right? He listened to godly input. Where did he go wrong? He stayed 7 years when he should have just bought his bride and she came home with him. Here's the second place he went wrong. When he woke up and realized that who he had was not who he thought he had, from that day forward, he expected Leah to be somebody she could never be. He put false expectations on his wife. So today, I want to give you something to think about. You don't need a whole lot to fall in love. You can fall in love just like that. It's easy to fall in love. You don't need a whole lot. You need one thing to fall in love. It's going to be on the screen. If you're a note taker, write this down. Maybe you're a picture taker. Take a picture of it, put it on social media. All you need to fall in love is a pulse. That's it. I can prove that to you. Some of you guys fell in love with Wonder Woman back in the day. Huh? You're laughing because you know it's true. Some of you guys that grew up in the Adam West Batman era, you fell in love with Catwoman. Man, I heard a come on right there, right here front row. Come on. Well, I tell you what, Catwoman, I got to be honest with you. Little boy, I dreamed about Catwoman. That woman was something else, man. I tell you, I was in love with Catwoman. Some of you men fell in love with Daisy Duke. I used to think, sometime back I was thinking about how my dad would come home from work every now and then and watch TV shows with me. And I was telling my kids, one of the shows my dad used to watch with me all the time was the Dukes of Hazzard. I hadn't seen the Dukes of Hazzard in years and years, decades. The other day I saw a Dukes of Hazzard episode and I watched about 10 minutes of it and I realized my dad wasn't spending quality time with me. Can we just be real? All you need to fall in love is a pulse. But if you're going to stay in love, you got to have a plan. And if you don't have a plan, then you're going to live in the what the heck did I do? Can I get a do-over? Can I redo? Can I just get out? We need a plan. So today I'm going to give you a plan. And guys, men, get this. I made it real easy. It's an acronym. And the plan spells cars. All right? Trying to help you. Here's the plan. Here's the C. C stands for confess. Confess the unrealistic expectations that you've put on your spouse. Say to your spouse, I just want to ask your forgiveness. I just need to confess this. I have expected this of you, and that's not realistic. Let me give you an example. If you expect your spouse to bring you joy, that's an unrealistic expectation. Because joy only comes from one place, and that's knowing Jesus Christ. Joy comes from a relationship with the Father. Joy comes from a life full of the Holy Spirit, bubbling up with the goodness of God. You see, the truth of the matter is, real joy is not circumstantial. He said, peace I give you, but not peace like the world gives. Peace that's just up 1 minute, down the next minute. No, he said, this is godly peace. It's not circumstantial peace. It's not circumstantial joy. So that's an unrealistic expectation. As awesome as my wife is, she cannot bring me joy. She can complement that joy that God brings into my life, but she can't bring me joy. So confess the unrealistic expectations. Here's the next one. Ask. Ask, where do you feel pressure to live up to something that is an unrealistic expectation? Where am I putting pressure on you to live up to something that's just unrealistic? I shared this with you a couple weeks ago, but when Melissa and I got married, we lived in this little bitty, it was the thinnest walled trailer ever made. When the wind blew, the cabinets, you could hear the dishes shaking. When the wind blew, the curtains shook. When the wind blew, the clothes hanging in our bedroom closet moved. This trailer was, I'm talking onion peeling, tracing paper thin walls. When we got married, it started off rough for us because she got sick and we lost her income. We lost all of our medical insurance. She carried that through her work. And it started off rough. And I'll never forget, about a week after we got married, she had done some laundry and she put the washcloths in the closet. And she folded them one time and then rolled them. I grew up, in the house. My mom, she would fold them one time, fold them another time. They made a nice little square. You could stack them on top of one another. I couldn't stack well these little burritos she made. And I said to her, this is not right. You're not doing this right. Let me show you how my mom does this. Oh, my Lord. Woo! You can go back and live with your mom if you want to go back and live with your mom. You know what? When I say confess the unrealistic expectations that you place on your spouse, and then I say ask, where have I put pressure on you? See, here's the deal. I think all of us men and all of you women, you know some unrealistic expectations you put on your spouse, but you don't know them all. And had my wife not said, ho, 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 time out, Charlie, we need to talk about this, then I would have lived the rest of my life. I probably wouldn't have lived a long life, but I lived the rest of my life trying to make her live up to an expectation to be somebody she's not. I don't want to be married. I love my mom. I don't want to be married to my mom. That's weird. You know what I'm saying? I love that woman right there. So ask, what pressure have I put on you to live up to an unrealistic expectation? Here's the R. Reward. Everybody say reward. Reward. Come on, one more time. Reward. Reward. Remember this. Whatever's rewarded is repeated. Whatever's rewarded is repeated. If I know I'm going to get a little sugar, if I know by doing something I'm going to get a reward, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to keep on doing it. If I know that when she gets in her car in the morning to go to work, if I know that her tank is full and she don't have to worry about stopping and filling it up, if I know by doing so she's going to give me a reward, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure every single night that tank is full, that those tires are rotated, that car is detailed, that the oil is changed, that the carpet is all looking good and plush and clean. I'm going to dig around with a toothpick. I'm going to dig around with some Q-tips. I'm going to keep that baby looking right because there's a reward coming, and whatever gets rewarded gets what? Repeated. You help me out. Whatever's rewarded gets what? Whatever's rewarded gets what? Not too long ago, I slid a little love note under the door when I left early one morning. It said, "Good morning, baby, I love you. I got a reward." Guess what I've been doing? "Good morning, baby, I love you. Got a reward." Guess what? How did that go? "Good morning, baby, I love you." I woke up a few months ago. I had a note. You know what it said? It said, "Take out the garbage." It said, "Don't flush the commode, you wake me up." It says, "Quit taking a shower early because you're killing me. You're waking me up and you snore too loud." Whatever gets rewarded gets repeated. And here's the S. Sneak away together. The together is a key word in that, okay? Don't sneak away. Sneak away together. Sneak away together. What do I mean? Have a date night. Have a date time. Get away. Keep the romance alive. Keep the flame burning. So, cars, confess all the unrealistic expectations you place on your spouse. Ask, what other unrealistic expectations am I putting on you? R, reward. Whatever's rewarded is repeated. S, sneak away. Key word, what is it? Together. Falling in love is not hard. All you got to have is a pulse. Staying in love requires a plan. So if you're married this morning, I want to ask you one last question before we pray. If you're married, what is your plan? What is your plan to keep that love alive? Nobody wants to just endure. Nobody just wants to cope. It's not survival of the fittest. We're talking about being in love forever. What's your plan? I'm going to ask you to do something. If you've never been in one of our marriage small groups, we do a group. It's called His Needs, Her Needs. It lasts 6 weeks. That's it. We got a bunch of different people who can lead that group on a dime. I'm going to ask you, if you've never been through a marriage small group, I'm going to help you create a plan. You can download our church app, and right there on that app, you can look at small groups, and you can click our marriage group. And in 6 weeks, you can add some new flame, new firewood, new kindling on that fire. So I'm going to challenge you, if you've never done that, do that today. I want you to bow your head with me.